Hey folks, welcome back to Good Enough Customs. So this week we have the daily driver in the shop. If you're not familiar, this is my 1998 GMC K1500. Bought this guy sight unseen off of a website that sells wrecks and rebuildables. Bought it sight unseen. This thing was a one owner California truck. Had 136,000 miles on it. I think it's fixing to turn 137,000 on it now that I've been driving it. But yeah, this thing came to me, awesome shape. I have not been disappointed in this truck. I love it. It's a great truck. So you're like, well, then why in the world is it in the shop? Well, it just needs a couple things. You know, we've already put shocks on it because the shocks are completely blown out. I put a subwoofer, an amplifier, and a new stereo in it, which is working beautifully. Sounds amazing. Really makes the drive much more bearable. It does need a couple more things done to it. There's a little play in the steering. I'm not sure what's going on there. It's not terrible, but it's there, so I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on there. If it's the rag joint or if there's something going on with the steering box, whatever. That's not what we're doing today. It also needs a master cylinder. I noticed it was leaking pretty good. Not horribly, but it's enough to where it's going to have to be replaced. So why do we have this guy in the shop? Well, we got Southeastern Truck Nationals coming up this weekend. I know y'all guys are watching this is probably a week or two ago. So, you know, I'm just kind of filming since I'm on vacation, guys. So I'm doing what I can when I can. But one of the things I wanted to do before Southeastern was address some of the scratches and some of the paint stuff on the truck. So the stuff that I'm mostly worried about is, you know, down here on the bedside, we got some scratches. We got this really nasty set of scratches here on the tailgate. Nothing huge, nothing terrible. You know, a few little just general use scratches, something you would expect out of a 26-year-old vehicle. Yeah, 26-year-old vehicle. Now, we're not doing anything with the hood. We're not doing anything with the roof. These guys, they've got to be sanded all the way down, taken down to primer and metal, and reshot color, reshot clear for the hood and for the roof. The roof doesn't look as bad as the hood, but I'm thinking the place that I bought this from, they probably did a little wet sanding and buffing on this hood. There's some thin paint on the edges, on these raised edges. That's where you're always going to have thinner paint. But where they've wet sanded and buffed on it, there's not a whole lot of paint left on this hood. So, yeah, she's going to have to be reshot. No big deal. I can do that. I just, you know, I'm not ready to do that just yet. Same story on the roof. But so what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to worry on these little scratches and things like that. Now, I said something about it, I think, in the last video or maybe one of the videos when I was working on this. I can't remember exactly when. But I know I said something about, you know, I used to do some paint work. So my dad owned his own mobile touch-up business from, I can't remember. I want to say it was late 80s all the way up through like 2 years ago whenever he retired. So, you know, with Dad doing mobile touch-up work, what we did is we go to car lots and we'd hit their used car lot. We'd walk the lot and we'd check out the new arrivals, basically, see what they need. You know, looking at the hood, you know, you would just kind of walk around. You see like little rock chips. You know, that's pretty commonplace to see little rock chips all on, especially the leading edge of the hood, sometimes in the grill. You know, but then you got like this big honking guy where it had that really nasty dent that the paintless dent guy mostly got sorted out. It's not terrible. You know, just a couple chips and scratches here and there. So that's what we mainly focused on, was pretty much just kind of fluffing it up, making the vehicle look a little bit better to the customer. You know, we weren't going for absolute perfection. Although sometimes it turned out that way, which is always it's kind of a bonus. But but we weren't going for perfection. We were going for, are you going to notice it from, you know, 5, 10, 15 feet away? You know, so if you walk up on a vehicle and you see a bunch of little white specks and chips all along the front edge of the hood, well, it's going to jump out at you. But if those little specks and chips are the same color as the rest of the hood, you're really not going to notice it so much. A couple colors are a little tricky. You got your golds, you got your silvers, basically the heavy metallics. Those guys were a little bit more tricky because you never could get the flake to lay quite the right way. So it might still show up. It might appear a little darker in one angle and a little lighter in another angle. Oh, those are so frustrating. But the big deal was, can we clean this up to where from here or even back here that you're not really going to see that or notice it so much? You know, we would do that and we'd hit as many vehicles as the managers would let us, used car managers. Sometimes they were in good moods and they had big pocketbooks. So they'd let us, just wear them out. Other times they're like, sorry, man, no, not doing anything there. So it was kind of hit or miss sometimes, but it was a lot of fun. And I looking back, I appreciate the fact that I got to do that and work with my dad for, a number of years. I think I was working with him during the summers when I was like 14. He'd give me the little jobs and stuff like that. And then as I progressed and got a little bit more proficient with different things, he would give me a little bit more to do. And then eventually I had my own rig. I was running around in my own little Astro van. Oh, that little Astro van had a little 4-cylinder, that 2.5 Iron Duke motor in it. I think it had froze up or something, and something was bent. It had a bent rod or a bent crank or something, and it sounded like a diesel. It was hilarious, but you couldn't kill the damn thing. And me being a 16, 17-year-old running around in it, I tried. It's amazing how far past the red line can go on one of those. Sorry, Dad. But those little vans are great. But anyways, that's what we worked out of, was little Astro vans, and it worked out amazingly well. But getting that experience and doing the paint touch-up, that's also where I learned how to buff and, start working scratches out of clear coat and all that fun stuff. So some of the stuff I'm thinking I could buff out, but my problem is some of this stuff they've already buffed on. And when you start getting a little thin on paint, you can make a big mess in a big hurry. So like right here, you can kind of see, especially this guy. Hopefully that's focusing up good enough to where y'all can see this. But like that guy right there, that's not sanded. That's not a scratch. That feels like it's been buffed on. And I mean, it's got kind of a hard edge to it, but some of this stuff looks like they have buffed on it, and I'm scared to death to get in there and really start working it with the buffing pad. Like these guys all down through here, you might kind of see some of the shadows on it. This light's kind of messing me up. Hang on. Yeah, here we go. So like these guys all through here, most of this stuff will buff out. You can usually tell if it's going to buff. If you can wet your finger and wipe it over it. If it disappears, it'll buff. But, like part of that one would. That's not. That guy might. That guy might. So, there's some here that definitely would buff out. There's some that's probably not going to. But the way it looks is the guys that was buffing on the hood and all that stuff, I think they walked all the way around it and buffed out some of these bigger scratches. So, not knowing how thick a paint I've got left, and not wanting to trash it, I'd rather live with just a couple, belt buckle scratches, whatever. I'm fine with it. We've got some other stuff we can do to try to clean that up. But if it doesn't clean up, that's okay. I'm just looking for the big stuff, like this big honking guy right here. All these guys. We can do something about that and make that clean up pretty good. So let me get all my stuff put together over here on the bench, and I'll show you what we're working with. And we'll kind of go through the process of this and kind of show you guys how to do all this stuff. Over at the workbench, here's what we got. So I went online and I ordered, that's actually a clear coat pen. This is a paint pen, and then that's just I forget how much paint that actually is. But I ordered this stuff from automotivetouchup.com, if I remember correctly. I'll try and find the link and post it down in the description. Now, this company sells all sorts of different paints. Like I can buy a quart or a couple quarts of this, or a gallon if I wanted to. I can buy whatever I want. I knew I was just doing paint touch up, and I was like, well, just in case I want to get a little crazy with the airbrush, maybe airbrush some stuff, I'll buy a little extra so that way I can use my airbrush for a couple things. Like I said, I also bought a paint pen. So this is the that indigo blue, which I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. The indigo blue paint pen. These guys, don't use these as I'm holding it saying, yeah, this is what I bought. Most folks will order a paint pen and think that it's just going to change everything. These guys are a pain in the butt to get the flow right, to get the coverage and the layout just right. They are very, very inconsistent. The only reason why I ordered these was because I know there's a couple spots here that I'm going to need a couple large globs of paint on. So that's mainly the reason why I ordered this. And this part right here really wasn't too bad. I want to say it was like $10, maybe something like that. It was not bad for all this stuff. I also got a clear coat pen. But I think all this stuff together was like 60, 70 bucks, maybe less than that. Honestly, I don't recall. If I can find the receipts and stuff, I'll throw that up on the thing, how much it actually did cost, but it wasn't bad. But anyways, so we got this jar of paint, touch-up paint. Now they use, like this guy right here, they use their own paint code. So this says GMC 39. That is not the paint code. So some vehicles have them in the door jamb. Some people have them in the glove box on a spid sheet. Some of the older stuff have it on a tag on the firewall. They're all over the place. If you're not sure where to find your spids and your trim codes and your paint codes and all that stuff, go check on Google. You should be able to find it that way. But for like this truck, 98 GMC, I already know it's going to be in the glove box, and we're going to have two designations because I got a two-tone truck. So we're going to have a U and an L. So we have a U, which is going to be my upper color of 9792, and my lower color is a 228A. So that'll tell you right there what your paint codes are. That way you know what to do. And like I said, this company uses a different type of paint code. They use their own paint codes, but they have a cross-reference sheet. So you can go through their cross-reference sheet and, you know, like mine was what, 97, 92. You just basically scroll until you find it, find your paint code, and then it'll tell you what paint code is their paint code. I don't know why they got to make it difficult like that, but I'm sure there's a reason behind it. So that's what I did, order this stuff. Now, one other thing that I did get, and this is a tip for anybody that's wanting to do this stuff, or even attempt this stuff, is like when you order a jar of touch-up paint like this, or you go to the parts house, I usually tell people not to get the ones at the parts house because they're usually gummy as hell and real thick. So you got to, you know, reduce them down a little bit to make them thinner so they actually work right. God knows how long they've been sitting on the shelf, that type of stuff. I've had this for a month, maybe a little bit more, just because I haven't had time to get in here and actually work on this. But with these touch-up things and the ones that you get at the at like O'Reilly's and AutoZone and all that, they have little brushes in the cap. Like this one does have a brush in the cap. Do not use that stupid brush. They're going to be way too big. They are not good brushes. Do yourself a favor, go on Amazon. That's what I did. I went on Amazon, ended up $6, maybe. It wasn't much. It was under 10. I think it was like $6 for a giant pack of paint brushes, and it comes with like 2 of the more common ones. So like for this one, I've pulled out a number 2 brush. You can see how fine tip that is. Let me get the top off of it. There you go. So you can see how fine tip that is. It's got a nice fine tip to it. It's also got a nice little bulbous area right there in the middle. Didn't have that whenever I was working for Dad, but that makes it a little bit easier for the big old mitts to get a hold of it. So those would have been nice whenever I was doing this full time, because you get to using the ones that are just tiny little super, I don't know, 1/8 inch, maybe 1/4 inch thick sticks on them. Whew, man, your hands will start cramping up after a while. But yeah, that right there is that's very nice. So anyways, that's a number 2. I was looking through them. I was like, number 2, number 3 would probably be the ones I would use more than anything. All right, we've still got, there's a little prep work you have to do prior to doing any type of paint work. So we're going to do that here in a minute. So let me get this paint shook up real good, mixed up real good, make sure that it's ready to go, because it does need to be shook. I may even do a little shaking with this guy, even though, boy, that's not sounding good. It's definitely thick in there. I'll have to shake this guy, but that guy definitely needs to be shook up. and ready to, you know, let it settle for a minute to get the bubbles out of it. But yeah, we'll go over here. We'll get our prep work done real fast. Then we'll come back over here and grab those. I don't really see us using airbrush. The hood would be the spot where I would want to use the airbrush, but this hood's, it's pretty bad, so I'm not really too concerned with the hood. So I'm not going to waste paint and just start airbrushing the front edge of this guy. Or maybe we will. I don't know. We'll see. So anyhow, let me get the rest of my crap together, and we'll get to prepping on this guy, and we'll kind of get started. So one thing you're definitely going to want is some Prep-All, wax and grease remover. I picked up this gallon jug because you know, we got plenty of paint work to do, and up there, you know, we got plenty of paint work to do coming up. Plus I've got a whole K5 that's going to need some paint work, but eventually. But anyhow, I got a whole gallon. I picked it up on like Amazon for like 25 bucks, something like that. It wasn't too terribly expensive, but it's never been opened, and I don't feel like opening it, especially since I've got the Poppy's Patina wax and grease remover, which is the exact same stuff. It's still Prep-All, does the same thing. So very similar to what we did with the wipe on clear coat. We're going to make one rag wet, one rag dry, and then we're just going to walk around, and we're going to wipe off our spots. You don't have to go wiping down the whole panel. You're basically just wanting to, you know, like I'm just going to take the rag. This guy's not wet yet, but we'll just take the rag, get it wet, and then I'll wipe it, and then wipe it back down with the dry. So that way it gets any and all the crap out of it. Gives that paint a chance to stick and keep it from, you know, fish eyeing and doing all that fun stuff once it gets down into the scratches. So now I'm doing this inside the shop. It'd probably be better if I did this outside, but it's really windy today. The natural light is a lot better to be able to see these things with, and it's not terribly hot, but it is really, really windy. So I didn't want to get out there and have the wind just blowing the microphone out and all that fun stuff. So we're going to do this inside. Plus, there's not a ton of scratches and chips and stuff that I need to worry about on this truck. So we're just going to go ahead and do it inside. I've got a couple extra lights I'm going to turn on, try to kind of get rid of some of the shadows so maybe I can see some things a little bit better. But let me get those lights set up, and then I'll go down here and we'll start on this driver's side and get it wiped down real fast. Got my rag wet, got my dry towel. So we'll just go through here and wipe these spots down. And this Prep-All stuff works really well if you got like tar. You get tar on your vehicle. Prep-All works really, really good at getting tar off as well. But just walking through here, getting my little specks that I see. Now my door edge, this guy's pretty bad. So I'm gonna open up my door and just wipe the entire edge down. And I'm also gonna wipe the cab side of that door edge down as well, because both sides are a little chewed up. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with these paint touch-up things. They come with this brush. One, the brush is huge. Two, you can't be very fine doing it with the cap and all. So we're just going to get that gone. We're going to take that little guy off so we have full access to the jar. And then we're going to take my brush, put a little bit of lacquer thinner in my little mixing cup here. And since this is a brand new brush, I'm just going to go ahead and dunk it a few times. These guys, I don't know if they're shipped with anything on them, but they might have some sort of wax or some sort of glue or residual glue left on them from, you know, whenever they were putting the brushes together. So we're just going to take that guy, dunk him in the thinner, and brush him around down there. Try to rough him up a little bit, basically getting the brush ready to be used. Now we got our paint. It's good and shook up. It's actually got like a little marble in there, or a BB or something. So shaking it perfectly fine. We got this guy cleaned up. We're ready to go for our brush. We're prepped over on the truck, so we can take and get started over here. I think what we're going to do is, I think we're going to go over here. We're just going to get started on the door, the edge of the door. That's one of the easiest spots to do. Plus, I haven't done this in 20 some odd years, so I might be a little bit out of practice. So we're going to come over here to the door. We're going to get kicking on that guy first, and see what we can't do there. So I'll be right back. So you can see my chips and scratches, you know, right down here along this edge. One other thing, keep you a paper towel and your Prep-Sol rags kind of handy just in case you need them. So we're just going to dunk this guy in here, get him filled up good. Go ahead and flare him out a couple times. Basically, we're just loading up the brush. Now, we're going to start down here at this bottom one, and we're just going to barely get in there. And what you're really wanting to do here is you want to take your brush, you're not so much putting the paint, you're not brushing the paint into the crack or the scratch. You are more or less letting it flow from the brush into the crack, if that makes sense. A lot of times just touching it to it will take care of the little nick and scratch. Now, if you overfill it a little bit, that's okay. Not the end of the world. The paint will shrink as it dries. Also, the reason why you want to keep your Prep-Sol handy is with this paint being wet and not cured out and dried out good, if you really screw something up, you can just hit a little Prep-Sol and it'll wipe right up. I'm not going to worry about, well, maybe I will go ahead and worry about this guy. If you were a kid and whenever you went to crayon and coloring with crayons, if you couldn't stay in the lines, you're going to have a bad time with this. And again, we're not going for perfection here. It's more or less, can I make it disappear at 5 or 10 feet away? That's all we're looking to do here. Is will these scratches that are big white, some of them a little brown because I might have got a little rust in them, can we make those guys disappear? And that's really all we're doing. Again, try not to glob it on, because if you glob it on, then it just looks worse than if you had left it alone. Because then it looks like somebody very incompetent came in there and tried to make it better and ended up making it worse. So, you know, it's just, see if we can't get in here. Just take your time. Figure out what the paint wants to do, and then just coax it along. And there you go. Can't hardly tell those spots are there anymore. Now, they're not going to completely disappear, but like I said, from back here, you won't see those two spots. So that's the name of the game. I got a lot of little spots to fill in. So I guess I can show you this. This one's a little different because it's kind of a feathered scratch, if that makes sense. This one, this guy right here. So again, we're just going to kind of let the paint tell us, you know, let the paint kind of get started, and then we're just going to kind of drag the paint around where it needs to go. Just trying to fill it in. Sorry, I'm focusing on the paint, not so much on the camera. But this way, we're staying in the lines. We're not globbing this crap on. It was amazing to me and Dad back in the day how some of these guys that claim to be professionals would literally just glob this crap on there. And I mean, you could see the touch-up paint 15, 20 feet away. Instead of, you know, you weren't looking at the scratch anymore, but you could definitely see the touch-up paint. But like from here, yeah, you can still see it in the reflection, but it disappears. Can't tell really right from here that there's scratches right there. You can see those. So it's a really cool thing. I'm really glad I learned how to do this and learned a lot about paint while I was doing this stuff with Dad. That's a little too much on there. That's gonna get away from me. But yeah. And then one of the things that you you also have to keep up with on this, like I'll do this multiple times, is while I'm doing this, you know, the paint on the brush is going to dry out. So I will have to clean the brush from time to time, which just dunk it in some lacquer thinner, wipe it down, freshen it up, and we'll be in good shape. But yeah, that looks so much better. Tons better. All right, now I just got to do that for the entire truck. It's gonna take a minute, but yeah, I get to walk around and do this on the truck. Now, if I was utilizing an airbrush, there's a couple different techniques you can use on airbrush that work out really, really well. But my air compressor's got a little bit of water in it, and water and paint don't mix too well. So I'm trying not to use my air compressor because it's just, like I said, it's got a bunch of water in the tank. I've had it empty for quite some time. I've had it opened up, so hopefully it's dried out by now, but I got to hook up a dryer system on that thing to try to keep that keep those air lines from getting just plumbed up with water. It was a mess whenever I was doing the head porting. It was blowing water out the tools, which, you know, that's good, really good for them. But but some of the stuff I could do with an airbrush, like if I was doing this hood, oh yeah, I would not be peppering this with the paintbrush. I'd just hit the whole front of the hood, you know, dotting it up with the airbrush, and then come back and wipe it down and make it look really, really good. The scratch kind of dictates the best way to fill it and handle it. Most of the time, yeah, you can do it with a paintbrush and a fine brush, but it could take a lot longer than it would, say, with an airbrush. So with an airbrush, I could just, a bunch of those scratches, I could have just, you know, hit with the airbrush, come back and just wipe it down, wipe the edges of the scratch down, and the paint will stay inside of it. It'll look great. Don't have to worry about it. But try not to use my compressor. So, so let me get back to this, and I'll try and knock out as much of this as possible, and I'll come back before I do this guy, because this one, I'm not 100% sure how I want to handle this. This is such a ugly spot, but I'm not sure how I want to handle this one just yet. But I mean, I could do it with a brush, but that's gonna be a bit much for a brush. It's gonna look terrible. So I'm gonna hem and haw on that. We'll come back to it, but I'm gonna walk around. I'm gonna do the rest of the truck real quick. It shouldn't take me too terribly long to go through and do all this stuff. So yeah, I'll be back. See, I messed up there. I just wiped it out. All right, so this tailgate, I'm not expecting miracles here. This scratch, I mean, it's deep, it's all the way down to the primer, and it goes all the way up here. You're still going to see this, but it's not going to be a high contrast, so it's not going to be white like it is here. It'll be more of a bluish hue to it, to kind of blend it in. You're still going to see it, but it won't jump out at you, so to speak. Once we get up into these pieces up here where it's really nasty, I don't have high hopes for all this. It'll look better, but it won't look perfect. And that's kind of the misconception a lot of people get when it comes to paint touch-up is, you know, they expect it to come out looking perfect or as it did, you know, straight out of the body shop or something. But that is not what paint touch-up is. Paint touch-up is exactly what it says. It's a touch-up. It makes it look better, but it don't make it look perfect. So, like I said, this part right here, this is not going to look, you know, perfect. It's not going to look, you know, you're still going to see it, but it's at least going to kind of blend in. So first glance, you might not notice it, but if you start looking, you're going to see it. So let me go re-stir this because it's starting to thicken up on the top a little bit. Just freshly cleaned my brush, so that guy's ready to go. But let me go restir my paint real fast since it's getting a little thick up on the top, and we'll come back and hit this. This would almost be a prime candidate for airbrushing, to, you know, run a line along it and then come back and wipe the edges off. But try not to use airbrush, so. All right, so on this, I can already tell this is going to be a mess. So I'm going to kind of do it messy right off the bat. And then I'm going to come back with my prep saw rag and I'm going to clean up the edges a little bit. And then I'll come back and do a final coat, because this is going to take, this needs a little extra paint in it because it's pretty deep. So so this first pass is going to be a little messy. Then I'm going to wipe it down, you know, go back over. Basically, you don't want to wipe with the scratch. You're going to wipe against the scratch. That way you're trying to keep your rag flat and it's taking the paint, you know, off the edges, but not inside the scratch. So we're going to come back and we'll come across the scratch like that. And then we'll come back and do another pass and maybe have to do it one more time. But that should build this up pretty good to where this appears a little bit better. So I'll let this guy dry up a little bit. I just re-wet my prep saw rag. So now we're just going to kind of back and forth over top of it. Now, if it takes the paint back out of it, that's okay. We got more paint. We can always put more back in it. It will be okay. Boy, this stuff dries hard. Maybe I shouldn't have let that dry so long. This stuff dries pretty doggone hard. Well, that ain't what I wanted. Yeah. Okay, well, unfamiliar with this paint, it does dry very hard. So, lesson learned there. If I have to find myself doing this again, I need to make sure and do it quickly. Good grief. Well, if it didn't dry so hard, I would be going up and down. But I'm having to dig my nail into it a little bit to give it a good firm surface to try to rub that paint off. So I'm having to go with the grain instead of against the grain. But plus side is it's at least leaving some of the paint down in the crack. That's crazy how hard that stuff dried. Yeah, that stuff dries real hard. All right, so the good news is it did leave some of the paint down in there, so it's not a big white scratch. It's now just an off-color, lighter scratch. At this point, you can do one of two things. You could come back and follow it up with some clear and try to get some clear down in there and clean it up that way. That might do it. You know, bring some of that color back out. But I think I'm going to take just I may switch down to a number 1 paintbrush and come back and try to hit this with a little finer paintbrush and finish filling that in. And then that'll look a lot better. But it already looks better than what it did. Although it almost turned into an absolute mess. Almost turned into one of them things that me and Dad used to make fun of people about. All right, well, noted for future. That stuff dries really hard and pretty damn fast. So, all right, let me go get another brush. Actually, I'll get another brush here in a minute and we'll do that. I'm gonna finish up on these over here because this bigger brush is gonna work fine for those. So tailgate probably had some of the worst scratches on the truck. You know, there is a point of diminishing return when you start doing this type of touch up. You get too many scratches, too many big scratches, too many gouges, those type of things. It really jumps out at you, if that makes sense. So there is a point of diminishing return where you don't want to hit everything, but you want to hit the big stuff. You know, at least knock out the big stuff. It cleans it up a whole lot better, makes things look really, really good. But there's still some used scratches on there. You know, there's still some scratches on here. But compared to the way it looked like before, you know, just in passing, y'all saw where all the scratches were. I know it's hard with the light right here, but if I turn the light off, then you can't see nothing. It's all in shadows. But from here, I mean, you can still see there's that was a big white scratch. It's a little faded looking. I could probably put a little clear in it and it'll probably bring it right around. But I had all those deep gouges up in here. They're still here. I mean, you can still see them. They show a little dark. This paint may be just a little bit dark. It's much better to do this outside than it is inside under, you know, artificial lighting. Outside in the daytime, it looks a little bit different. You can actually see a little bit better. But like I said, it's really windy out there today. So it's not super hot, but man, it's windy. But I mean, for what this did for this tailgate, I mean, I'll take that all day long. Like I said, you can still see the scratches, but it's not meant to be perfect. It's meant to be good enough. No, my dad's paint touch-up company was not good enough touch-ups. But that's the idea. It's to make it look pretty good, better than it did, but it's not going to be perfect. So tailgate's pretty well knocked out. Driver's side's pretty well knocked out. I still got to do the passenger side. There's quite a few little pieces on there. And then we still got to pay attention to that corner of the front fender there. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock down the passenger side. I may even there's a couple little spots here on the back of the cab right there. I may try and do something with those as well. But I'm gonna just turn the camera off, blast through this, get this stuff done, and then we'll catch back up here on this corner and figure out what in the world we're going to do here, because to be honest, I'm not 100% sure exactly what I want to do here, because if I just go filling it in with paint, it's going to be real dark, it's going to be real obvious, and it's not going to blend out very, very well. So I don't know. I'm gonna think on that while I'm doing the other side. So I'll be back shortly. Passenger side done. So went through, did my touching up here. A lot of the stuff that was here kind of disappears into, you know, just like it's supposed to. Can't really see it just in passing, but if you focus in, yeah, those are a couple of really bad ones right here. But for the most part, this turned out pretty good. Back here, yeah, you can still see quite a few of these. These are just, if I can get the angle just right. Yeah, you can kind of see it. There's some scratches in here, but they are borderline. I mean, they are just deep enough to where I can't get any paint to stick in them, but they're showing up. So I could take some clear coat, do the same thing with the clear, with the, you know, paintbrush, and do the same thing and just trace it out with the clear. It'll work all right, and it would look okay, but it would still kind of show. It's weird. In certain situations, it works out okay. Like if it was a lighter color vehicle, would probably be just fine doing that. But with it being darker, you know, this darker blue color, things are going to kind of pop off this. It's going to show things really, really bad. So I don't want there to be just a bunch of little random, you know, clear paint marks that you're going to be able to see. I did, in this area, there was a lot. There were questionable marks, some of them just deep enough, some of them not quite deep enough, that I was able to take and dab a little paint on there, take my finger, you can see how blue it is now, and just wipe it in, and then come back with my Prep-Sol rag and dry rag, wipe it down, wipe it back off, and it, you know, basically it disappears. So, or it's less noticeable. So the tailgate still looks really good. Like I said, you're still going to see it, but not see it as evidently. Tailgate turned out really, really good. Driver's side's pretty good. The only thing that I still don't know is this guy. I was sitting there looking at it going, I really don't want to go and glob paint on this because it's not going to look good. And I mean, really, this corner, it looks pretty bad as is. And if I glob paint on it, it's going to be pretty definitive. That may be what we end up doing just as a kind of a interim fix. Not a huge fan of it. I do have my airbrush. I could fire that off, but the problem I'm going to run into there is I'm going to have to blend it, and there's no good break here to blend it in. And when you're dealing with a little paintbrush like this, you can get pretty surgical with it. So I mean, I could probably mask off the hood here, mask off this piece. Actually, I'd probably go ahead and spray it because of that scratch, but mask off what I don't want painted. Just leave this panel unmasked, and you know, get this guy, scuffed it down, maybe even shoot it with a little primer, come back and feather it in as best I can with the paintbrush, and then leave a small line somewhere in this neighborhood. It's not a good spot, not ideal, but I could leave a, you know, a fade line right here, and then come back with some reducer, fog it in with some reducer, and try to blend it back that way. The only problem is I don't have any reducer. So that's not going to work out very well. Another thing I could do would be give it all a light scuff and then come back and fog it back in with some clear. But I really don't want to do that because then that's just more work than I'm really wanting to get into. So as much as I don't want to, because it's just not going to look right, I think for now I'm just going to kind of fill it in. This has to be there needs to be some body work here anyways. I mean, you can see all the ripples and dimples and all that stuff there. So I think I'm just going to leave it as is. I mean, yeah, it looks like crap, but if I go trying to put paint in all this, it's going to look worse. Then it's going to still have all this stuff going on here where it's just dimply, all that. I think I'm just going to leave this as is. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I might go ahead and touch this little guy up, and then maybe hit this and try to clean these two little spots up, minimize how bad it really looks, but I don't think I'm going to do really anything else with it. If I'm going to fill that little spot and fill this scratch, maybe I'll go ahead and knock these two edges in, and I could do this edge and it'd probably blend okay. It wouldn't be as noticeable, but this guy, I don't know. I'm gonna play around with it. I'll see what looks good. If it looks like crap, I can just wipe it back off. So, all right, I guess that's what we're gonna do. So let me get, I actually started cleaning stuff up because I forgot about that. So let me get my stuff back out, and we'll see what we can't. See what we can't do there. Not expecting much, but whatever. So here we are. Got this guy. I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy one more time with a fresh rag of Prep Sol as I bump my stool. Here, let me move that back so I don't bump it all the time. So we're just gonna go ahead and wipe this guy down again with some Prep Sol. Plus I wanted to see if that disappeared and if this guy disappeared with the Prep Sol. And it does to an extent, so that means it would probably buff out, and some of this would probably buff out. This hazing that's in there. But I'm not getting a buffer out to do all that. There's a lot that I'm just not doing. So I'm going back to my number 2 brush. It's a little bit bigger. That'll work good for these bigger spots to fill. So let's go ahead and load this thing up. Again, if you buy some sort of touch-up paint and it's got a brush in it, do not use that brush. It's trash. So we're just going to fill this guy because he's super easy and he's just right there. Get him filled in real quick. This is doing this whole truck is not the quickest process in the world. Like I said, using an airbrush would be a hell of a lot faster. But you know, I just, with the amount of moisture that my compressor puts into the line, I've got to get a dryer or build a dryer for it. Something, moisture trap, I don't know, something to kind of combat the moisture I'm getting in that line. And then I can worry about doing some paint with the, you know, with the airbrush or with my high volume, low pressure guns. So this front tip, you know, the corner here, that's good. This color is not an exact match. I've noticed that a little bit more as time has gone on. It's a little dark, but it's just they're just mixing it based off of paint codes, so they can't, you know, tune it to exactly what, you know, tint that it needs and all that stuff. So just basing it off of paint codes, yeah, it's gonna be a little dark. That's all right. It could stand to be lightened up a little bit. It'd probably blend in a little bit better if it was a little bit lighter, but that's okay. Again, not looking for perfection. Okay. Well, the big spots are taken care of. We're gonna do something with this guy. Just gonna kind of glob him on real quick. You know, couple little pats, and then we're gonna. Okay. I was hoping maybe some of that would stick, and I wouldn't have to put it on. So put it in there and brush it in, but that's not gonna work. It's okay. This guy's a little tricky because he's a drag scratch, so it's a little rough. So we're gonna do a few little tricks on this guy. Basically rub a little paint on there, rub it in, and then we're gonna come back with the prep saw and see if we can't have a little bit left behind, but get all the crap out of the way, you know what I mean? Guys, paint dries so hard. It's not great, but I can come back over this with some clear and that thing will damn near disappear. Let's do this guy. It's not gonna look good. I hate to even do it, but it ain't gonna look right. May look a little bit better, but it's still gonna be standing out like a sore thumb. Well, it looks better. You can see it's a little darker, you know. Maybe it'll lighten up a little bit once I get a little sunlight on it. It looks like I need to drag a little bit right in here. Still got a little haze to it, but yeah, a little drag right in here. I got some clear that I'll take and just kind of throw a little clear on it, try to clean it up a little bit better. But yeah, it works. I mean, is it perfect? No. Does it make it not super obvious? Well, right now it's not super obvious. I don't know what it's going to look like in the daylight. Like I said, artificial light versus natural light, huge difference. So it might look amazing in the sun. It may look absolutely like a train wreck. We'll find out later. So let me get a little bit of clear on here. I'll take care of this line here with some clear and probably just drag a little bit in here, maybe. Try to, you know, church this up a little bit, make it look a little bit better. Let me do that real quick and I'll be right back. All right, so quick update. These little pins. Dad always told me they were trash. Dad was right. Absolute garbage. The clear one I was trying to use on it. They got it in there so thick, it just comes out globby and just, terrible. And then it might come out a little bit and then it just pours out. he always said those little paint markers are garbage, and yeah, it's money wasted. I think those were like $7 or $8 a piece, so there's like 20 bucks I wasted, whatever. So I did go back and hit it with some more color along this little drag scratch, and then filled in a couple little spots here and a couple little pepper spots, you know, rock chips that needed to be filled in. So I did that. So I mean, yeah, for what it is, it looks good. So yeah, touch-up's pretty good. I'm happy with it. I am a little rusty. I have not done this in 20 some odd years, so yeah, a little rusty. Now that all that's done with the paint stuff, it turned out great. I'm pretty pleased with it. You know, this corner, I mean, it's doing like it's supposed to. It's made it to where it just kind of blends. It's not standing out like a sore thumb. You know, with the gray and the white and the primer and all that crap. So anyhow, the paint touch-up stuff's great. It looks a lot better because there was a lot of scratches on here that were just like, oh my God, I got to fix that. They're all fixed now. Or they're not nearly as noticeable. So next thing I need to do with the daily, and I've been putting this off because it's one of my least favorite things to do, is I gotta polish these wheels up. These are the factory 16-inch GM saw blades. They look okay when they're polished up and they're clean. These guys looked a little bit better before I washed them. And I would really rather not have these wheels, but it's got, you know, brand new tires. I mean, and I'm not going to go buy a 16-inch wheel just because I have brand new tires. If these were 15s or 17s, I would probably put a different set of wheels on it, because then I could reuse the tires. But 16s, it doesn't make sense. I mean, you know, whatever. It's a daily. Eventually, I probably will go to like some 20s. I know 20s, but it'll be a factory style GM wheel, or a factory GM wheel, just newer. One of the 20s, mainly because the tires are cheaper when you get into the 20s, because everybody's running 20s nowadays. That's down the road. You know, like I said, I'm not in any rush. If I stumble across a good deal, maybe I'll buy them. But for now, I got fresh tires, so we're just going to run these. But these wheels are, yeah, they're really chalky looking right now. And I don't know if a lot of y'all guys watch Cletus or not. I do. He's entertaining, and it's great. You know, I would one day would love to have, you know, his life, which is amazing. Getting to do all this crazy fun stuff and drag racing and all that. It's amazing. But anyways, doubt that'll ever happen. But still, he has some killer giveaways, you know, whenever he does his stuff. You know, you spend $5, it gives you a point or whatever, one entry. So anytime that comes up, I usually just buy some sort of, you know, detailing or cleaning thing, because I don't wear a whole lot of merch stuff. Sometimes I'll buy some stickers, you know, but I've got a whole drawer literally full of stickers. So I'm kind of stickered out in that respect. But I did go ahead and I bought on one of them, I bought Mr. Sam's, this wheel cleaner, and Lord have mercy. That stuff, it cleans. It takes the shine right off of them. So, yeah, it took the shine right off of this thing, but it got so much crap off these wheels whenever I was washing it earlier. So it works really, really well. But I also picked up on yet another giveaway, because I literally buy one thing. My thought process is, hey, if I'm going to win something, I'm going to win it whether I spend $5 or I spend $100. So I usually spend like 20. You know, I buy something like that. Another one I bought was the Mr. Sam's metal polish. So it comes with a little rag and an applicator. So I think what we're going to do is go back and we're going to polish these guys up. I know a lot of times I'll use like Eagle One Never Dull. I've got some other stuff over there that it works really, really well. But you know, I bought it. Might as well use it. So see how she works. But I figure I'm going to run around. I'm going to polish these wheels up. Hopefully they polish up pretty good, because these do look okay whenever they're polished up. But when they're faded like this right now, ugh, they look like garbage. So I'm going to do that. And as soon as I get done with that, I think we'll be pretty well done with the truck, other than just, you know, wiping down the interior and cleaning it out, and it's ready to go. It's show ready. It's show ready, show enough. But oh yeah, I was gonna also paint my wipers because they're extremely faded and gross looking. So I can do that here in just a few minutes. That's easy. It takes 5 minutes. I already prepped them with some Prepsol. Basically turn the wipers on so they're sitting up, and grab a piece of cardboard, newspaper, what have you, slide it up underneath it so you can kind of manage your overspray, and just hit them with the rattle can. I'm going to use some of the good old oh, what is this crap, the Duplicolor semi-gloss black, the engine ceramic or whatever. It's good stuff. So I'm gonna put that on there. But yeah, other than that, we're damn near done. So I'll do that after I get done with the wheels. I'm in the mood to do the wheels now, so I better jump on it before I change my mind. So, well, the wheels are done, and they're looking really, really good. That Mr. Sam's wheel cleaner, that stuff is no joke. Not only did it like literally pull every bit of shine those wheels had on them right off. I did notice while I was using the that Never Dull stuff, it's just some wadding with some cleaner and polish in it. I noticed that, and y'all guys can notice too, there ain't hardly a lick of black on these things. Usually these things are just black. They look like charcoal by the time I'm done with them. That wheel cleaner pulled all sorts of crap off these things. So it made the polishing process a lot easier, which, doing the Never Dull stuff, it's not a really difficult process anyways. And these being factory wheels, I'm not that terribly, concerned with it. They look good enough. It's fine. So I still got to do these stupid wipers. Keep forgetting them things. So I think here in a second, I'm going to do the wipers, get those guys spray painted black so that they just kind of, they don't look like crap being faded and chipped up. Spray those black. I got to wipe down the interior, and once I get this guy outside, I'm going to use some tire dressing, which I've been using this coverall stuff. It is really good. You ain't got to wipe it in or anything like that. You just spray it on there, and it sticks. It is some good stuff. I do have some Meguiar's from God knows when. This was actually floating around in one of the trucks that I got. I don't even know where exactly it came from, but I've had it for a while, and it does a good job too. But I'll probably use that coverall. It does a damn good job, and it doesn't do like some of the tire dressings where you spray it and then you get driving, you get the little tire dressing speckles all the way down the sides. That stuff doesn't do that. It sticks and it hangs on there good, and it lasts a long time. I think I had it on there for like 3 months one time before I really had to go back and redo it. It's good stuff. But I'll probably take a little bit of that on a rag as well and wipe down my black plastics back here in the back, specifically on the bumper, because it's a little chalky here. It's extremely chalky there. It's not the end all be all cure all for that, but it's good enough. It does the job. So super happy with the way that the paint touch-up turned out on this guy. Took care of a lot of nagging little scratches and chips that I was just constantly going, oh my God. And this corner, it looks okay. I mean, at first glance, don't really notice it so much. But, closer inspection, it kind of looks like garbage. But looks better than it did, and that's the ultimate goal. So, alrighty. Well, if y'all guys liked the video, be sure and hit that like button. If you are not a subscriber and you've made it this far, be sure and hit the subscribe button. The analytics thing keeps telling me it's like 75% of the folks that watch my content aren't subscribers. Just hit the subscribe button. All it does is help grow the channel, helps make things, get promoted out there in the YouTube world, and just kind of helps everything out all around. So if you want to follow me on social media, that information is listed below. That's Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I have a Twitter. I don't really do anything with Twitter or X or whatever, but you can follow me there if you want to, if my account's even still active. So anyways, I do appreciate y'all guys watching. Look forward to seeing y'all next time. And just remember, folks, it ain't got to be perfect. It's good enough. Yeah, it's good enough. Y'all guys take it easy. We'll see you next time.